Emails from Afar, a chef's culinary adventure around the world. By Mike Sanders.
Chapter 6. Kyoto and Friends. 11/23, Day 8. We spent the gray and wet day sightseeing in Kyoto with Sarah's longtime friend Hiroshi. Standing 6'1", with a proud and confident sense, he was easy to spot in the bustling crowd in front of Kyoto Station. The red North Face jacket and ball cap he wore to catch our attention was entirely unnecessary. Lean yet muscular, his overall physique is what my mom used to call a swimmer's build. Once the hellos were over, he introduced us to his vibrant fiancée, Sawako. Full of energy and excitement, she was brimming with questions for us. The first place on the day's tour was to an old temple complex on the outskirts of the city. It's the beginning of fall here, and the leaves are changing, which has set the hills ablaze with the deep reds and vibrant oranges of the Japanese maple. Set in amongst these trees is a sprawling compound of wooden temples, white shrines, and granite statues. We wandered the grounds from place to place for a good 2 hours, and we could have spent another 2 easy absorbing it all in. But, like a good tour guide, Hiroshi pulled us away when our time was up. Conveniently, a small cafe located across the street from our next destination. Well lit with a delicious aroma, it was clearly a mom-and-pop operation and was as clean as it was picturesque. After a short perusing of the menu, I finally settled on a bowl of udon noodles. While we waited for the food, we got to know each other a bit more, each one of us in turn. It turns out Hiroshi now works for a corporation that is developing new and experimental solar power cells. Sawako, on the other hand, is just about to finish college and is coming to the end of her fall vacation. When the food arrived, I could see that for the $5 it cost, or the 500 yen, it was well worth it. Ample amounts of udon noodles containing stir-fried shiitake mushrooms and carrot slivers had been topped off with 2 tempura shrimp. The thick black ceramic bowl was then filled with the very thick, rich chicken broth. It was a great choice on a drizzly day full of sightseeing. The thick noodles provided long-lasting energy, and the rich broth brought warmth back into my body. I had trouble finishing the last bite, there was so much. The decor was traditional Japanese, with sunken tables and beautiful blue silk wall hangings. The most memorable part of the meal was the old lady that served us. She was as mean as she was old. Hiroshi called her one cold fish. From the cafe, we strolled to a giant complex to the top of a little mountain where there is a small temple complex. Once at the top, we found people performing a rather unusual ritual. What you do is you get a little free terracotta disc, about the size of a tea saucer, from a guy in a shack that looks like it was made of driftwood. You then walk over to the painted iron railing at the edge of an undersized cliff that overlooks a small valley. At the edge you're to think of all your flaws, all of your nasty feelings, all of your negative feelings, all the self-destructive thoughts you can conjure about yourself. Once the disc is full of these negative, nasty thoughts, you fling it over the cliff with as much force as possible. The spiritual thinking being is that the disc holds all of your negative energy, and when you throw it away, you also throw away your negative energy. Neat. I could definitely use one of these in the kitchen. Meandering our way around, we came to one temple that was particularly interesting. It was filled with monkey stuff. Japanese folklore is filled with stories about a monkey, a hare, and a frog. I suspect it's something like one of Aesop's fables, where the animals represent an emotion or a moral, but I'm not sure what the monkey represents. But this temple was to honor him. Grand monkey carvings, monkey paintings, monkey sculptures, monkey poems, a wide variety of silk screens depicting monkeys eating, sleeping, dancing, playing music, playing games, playing with themselves. There was even an ivory statue of a woman having sex with 2 chimps. Anything and everything monkey could be found inside the Monkey Temple. Not far from the Monkey Temple, it started to rain a bit, and we found some quick shelter at a snack stand. The stand was selling rice dough balls that had been filled with sweet bean paste. The white balls had been flattened, skewered 6 to a stick, and then griddled right in front of you on a slab of well-seasoned cast iron. With a touch of oil for good contact with the heat, after 5 minutes they develop a wonderful crispy quality. Once that side is done, they get turned and are given the same treatment. Some of the balls had been colored green with the addition of green tea powder to the dough. The snacks were warm, chewy, lightly sweet, and outstanding on a cold day. After the large meal, I wasn't really hungry, but good food is good food, and you have to make room when you have to. When we got back to the bus stop, Sawako suggested that we go to a huge market that was close by, as it might offer Sarah some good photographic opportunities. That sounded great to us, so off we went. The second I set my eyes on the market, I knew it was a madhouse. It was a covered street mall with thousands of little shops selling everything under the sun, and it went on for blocks and blocks. We slowly poked and prodded our way around, tasting all the samples, loving everything we found. It was a bit overcrowded, but hey, this is Japan after all. We walked down the middle of the boulevard, window shopping as we went, I asking Hiroshi 1,000 questions, and Sawako asking Sarah 1,000. As dark drew near, the neon signs turned the wet streets in chrome into some kind of living comic book drawing, with everything vividly radiating wildly confused colors. Hiroshi wanted to take the American chef, meaning me, to a rather expensive restaurant for dinner. By chance, or design, I'm not sure which, we just happened to walk our way right to the place he wanted to take us. A quaint little multi-story building. Once inside, the interior was a setting straight out of one of my dreams. Sake and soft music filled the peaceful air. Ferns and a small waterfall brought nature into the mix in an ever so subtle way, and everything was made of bamboo. The first thing the hostess did, even before we got out of the front foyer, was to ask us what we would like to drink. Taken a little off guard, we all mumbled beer. She nodded, said very well, in English, and then asked us to follow her. We walked and winded our way through immaculately set tables and fabulous works of art. Statues of maidens, swords, suits of samurai armor. The deeper and deeper we went in, the more and more it felt like an ultra-wealthy man's house. When we arrived at our table, a cold Asahi beer and a small bowl of warm cashew nuts awaited each one of us. I was really, really impressed. Now that is service. The dinner started off simple enough with 2 salads. A daikon relish salad with butter lettuce in one bowl and a sweet seaweed salad in the other. The first salad had been prepared with lemon juice and soft tofu, which itself had been mixed with ginger and green onion, and then tossed with a few peeled cherry tomatoes. The second was a seaweed salad that had been tossed in some kind of toasted sesame seed vinaigrette. Both were just delicious and full of crunch. Light and refreshing with its wonderful juicy quality, they literally cleared the street funk off the palate. Next came the pork chunks. Inch-sized chunks of pork belly that had been slowly stewed for hours and hours in a light teriyaki. It was so flipping good it brings tears to my eyes just thinking about it now. The meat was completely falling apart, fatty, ultra-rich, sweet, and so succulent. I can't go on, I'm going to start weeping again. Once the divine swine was gone, a huge plate of chicken chunks showed up. They'd been covered in powdered panko, which is Japanese breadcrumbs that have been smashed into dust, and then deep-fried. They were served in a nest made of very fine fried noodles, and topped with sweet chili sauce and 2 soft-boiled eggs cracked over the top. The chicken was ginger-flavored, and believe it or not, the half-cooked eggs made for a wonderful sauce. Along with the chicken came some sort of small fish that had been grilled. It was about 8 inches long, skinny, and needle-shaped. With a simple squeeze of lime juice over the top, it was ready to eat as it was. About 45 minutes into this feast, my stomach was about to burst, as you could well imagine. We decided to take a short break and stroll through the rest of the establishment, which was mammoth, to help ease the pressure. While wandering around the main floor, we came across a large courtyard and garden. Not wanting to rush right back to the table, we took a short stroll through the magnificent grounds. When we came back, a delightful surprise awaited us. Each one of us had a fresh sake bottle and a little blast furnace filled with white-hot coals. On top of the coals sat a mini cast-iron cauldron. Inside, pieces of pork, sea lettuce, tofu, and shiitake mushrooms were all vigorously simmering away in a rich broth. Hiroshi explained that you needed to top it off with a bit of green onion just before eating. He was rather adamant about that point, that it needed to be the green of the onion, not the white, and that it needed to be put on and then immediately eaten for the dish to be proper. After the soup came the tempura platter, bursting with asparagus spears, Kyoto carrots, which are red, not orange, thin strips of Kobe beef, and, unbelievably, matsutake mushrooms. It was a sight to behold. The matsutake mushroom is a rare and expensive fungus like a truffle, but that's where the similarities end. The matsutake is a large, well-built mushroom with a pleasantly strong earthy flavor that, it has to be said, smells vaguely of cinnamon and gym socks, and it can't be grown artificially, so it has to be harvested in the wild. The platter was served with 3 new dipping sauces, flavors I don't know then, and I don't know how to explain now. To top us off, like we had any room to be topped off, they gave us a small scoop of sumptuous green tea ice cream. All in all, we spent 3 hours eating and drinking. It was, bar none, the best meal I have ever had. We rolled ourselves out the door around 10 p.m. My legs had cramped up from the long walk, followed by a long sit. My stomach felt like it was overstuffed to the point of being distended, and every cramped footstep was torturous. The overwhelming blizzard of neon from all the signs totally bombarded my eyes. With the visual sensory overload, a super full stomach, and a head full of sake, I didn't have a chance. I quickly slipped into a stupor on the short train ride home. 11:24, day 9. After a very short 7-hour sleep, we were back on the bullet train bound for the west side of Kyoto. To wake up, I bought a giant can of hot tea and rice cakes from a vending machine. I love the idea of hot drinks and vending machines. We need to import this idea back into America. Imagine coming across a hot can of tea or flavored coffee or chai on a cold, rainy day. Anywho, by the time we met Hiroshi and Sawako, I was wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. Hiroshi said that he had a day of free temples and shrines for us to visit. With him in the lead, we wasted no time and quickly found the closest bus stop. His plan had us crisscrossing the city in a manic attempt to see every important sight. At the end of the last temple of the day, there was another row of street vendors. As we walked past, Hiroshi pointed out that the stand was serving teriyaki sparrow. He then inquired whether or not the chef would be interested in trying some. Absolutely. The meat was tough, dark, and tasted a lot like dove or beef hearts, but a little bit more gamey. The sauce that had been dipped in was the best part. It was a very heavy teriyaki. Dark and something like molasses, it looked like liquid candy to me, and I'm glad I tried it. Sawako told us that this temple had some sort of deep connection with sparrows. Yeah, like this is the temple where they eat them. To wash the bird down, Sarah and I split a melon-flavored soda, which was another first for me. Next time, I think I'll pass. Super sweet artificial honeydew isn't a good flavor, much less to carbonate. Hiroshi suggested something different for lunch at a place that was just a few blocks away. This meal, too, was unlike anything I've ever experienced. First off, the table was basically a giant 4-foot by 6-foot iron griddle rimmed with a thin wooden railing. Broiling hot, with 6 tables in the restaurant, it made the small cafe into a little sauna. The server brought over an elegant bamboo tray for each of us, each tray having small silver cups filled with such goodies as shredded cabbage, sliced raw pork, a raw egg, some boiled and still hot yakisoba noodles, slivered onions, calamari rings, some dark miso paste, and a few peeled and veined prawns. We also all got a little bit of a larger bowl. What you do is you mix it all together in the empty bowl, and then plop it into the metal ring on the griddle table. You wait 4 to 5 minutes until it's nice and crispy brown on one side, then flip it over. At the end of the cooking process, you take it out of the metal ring, then smear it with a touch of the dark miso paste, and finish it off with a small squirt of mayonnaise. It's called okonomiyaki. It was a blast to make, it was a blast to eat, and I highly recommend it.